Hey, welcome back to another episode of Cardboard Conversations. Tonight, we're going to dive into some stories, strategies, and passions behind the tabletop world. That's right. Today, we've got a special guest joining us, someone who lives and breathes this industry every single day. That's right. We're excited to welcome James, the owner of Recess Games in metropolitan area of Ohio, a cornerstone hobby shop that's been serving the gaming community since 1992 with everything from board games, trading card tournaments. They've been supporting a lot of the local area. James is bringing not only deep knowledge of the retail side of the hobby industry, but also some real insight on how a game store builds and supports its local community. James, thank you for joining us. We're thrilled to have you on the show tonight.
Great to be here.
Welcome.
Absolutely.
So
I'm excited for it. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just going to jump right into it. So a lot of store owners have had a personal reason behind opening a shop like Recess Games. So take us back to 1992. What inspired you to start Recess Games, and what was that early journey like? And you actually shared us a photo. I'll pop up while you chat.
Well, it was kind of interesting how it evolved. I wanted to always play games for a living, and this is how I ended up doing that. But when I wanted to do this originally in 1989, I put together a business plan, and it was I just couldn't figure out how to make money because there weren't really enough tabletop games to sell and make a profit. You know, and selling video games is really a volume business. So I don't know. I hadn't figured out how to do it at that point. So by 1992, I started collecting some comic books, and I collected all the Spider-Man comic books. And then I had them all, and it was like, well, I have more fun collecting them than having. So I started going to comic book shows and selling as a vendor. And before you know it, I've got 12, 16 boxes of comics that I'm lugging back and forth. And I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I looked for a 800 square foot store, which is the one that my wife is in there at the bottom, peeking out between the used cabinets that we repainted. And we started that location. It's a little less than $3,000. So
that's the comic books that we're seeing in the background there on the purple.
Yes, I built those shelves so that you could see the full face of comics. This is, back at the heyday when they started making all the multiple covers and everybody was buying 10 of everything. And, it was an interesting time in the 90s for comic books. So I wanted to show them all. So I had these A-frames built because I didn't like the way most comic books would be displayed. You know how where they're like in front of each other and you only see the top little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And then when you grab the comic book and pull it out, you bend the cover, the spine the whole time. People that aren't respectful or don't care about the comic book or kids. So
then you got to finagle it back into its little spot as well. Yeah,
exactly. So I had these cabinets made, and I aligned the store with them so that I could display them differently.
So what were your bigger sellers early on? I mean, was it comic books? Was it games? Because at 1992 there were no TCGs at that point, and board games.
We opened in March, and so we were doing comic books, a little bit of sports cards, but I hated that. But we had role-playing books like Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I think is what it was out in 1992. But then in August, Magic came out, and that just kind of supercharged our business.
So you were early on. Did you sell the early boxes of I doubt you got your hands on Alpha. What was the first set of Magic you remember selling?
Beta.
Oh wow, you had beta boxes. That's neat.
So
never even touched one.
What was interesting is as soon as I saw the game, starter box, I was like, this I think this game is going to be popular forever. I could just tell the kind of game it was, the way it was developing. So I immediately called Peter Jackson at his house in Seattle or Renton, Washington, and I set up a distributor account. So I was a small distributor in the beginning days of Magic, and the first set that I got as a distributor was Arabian Nights.
Okay.
That's early on. That's very early on.
Yeah.
And I started, basically some. Did I get? Yeah, Arabian Nights. I think was the first set that I got as a wholesaler. But I pretty much just supplied local people close to me. I didn't do a lot of shipping. It was mostly stores from Sandusky to Cleveland, just coming in and picking it up.
So
that's
I
a
assume you didn't.
convenient model. Yeah, come and get it, boys. That's wonderful. I mean, that's something great about having a brick and mortar shop is the through traffic. You don't have to deliver stuff. Sending stuff out in the mail is more of a modern thing, isn't it? Have you been selling singles for a long time, or is this a newer development?
I don't sell singles at all now.
Oh, interesting.
We stopped selling singles about 8 years ago. And not because it's a very lucrative business for those who do it well. You really have to have your nose to the game, so you know what's hot, what's not, what's in, what's out.
Yeah, prices can rise and fall very quickly.
They do, and especially now with TCG Player and the stock market like ticker of every card. It's a very volatile situation. But
and probably a lot more competitive. I mean, anybody can sell on eBay and TCG Player nowadays. Plus Facebook Marketplace. Go down to your local LGS, as they say, and everybody's a competitor in the singles market.
And in order to do it well, you have to have a massive inventory.
Oh yeah,
right. You just have to have a lot of cards of everything. And then if you start thinking about an inventory of those cards, you're constantly buying and selling. But where stores make a lot of money, at least when I was doing it, because I did it for the first 15 so years or 20 years, somewhere in that neighborhood, 20 years of my business. You make your money when you buy. If you buy right, you're going to do well with your single cards. It's really what it comes down to. But what I started to not like about the business was the rapport. I'm trying to build a community, my rapport with the customers. So you come in, you buy a pack, you open that pack and you sell me back the cards. I make more money buying it from you. Then I sell it again for even more money. And I'm basically encouraging you to gamble, and I'm the winner over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And
you never really lose.
Not really.
If the customer loses once, you win once. If the customer loses twice, you win twice.
Yeah. And that's what I didn't like. Well, that's what started to bother me, is because I'm trying to sell entertainment and an activity and fun. I didn't want to sell an investment anymore.
Well, I mean, it's right there in the naming model. It's a recess. You're supposed to take a break and have some fun.
And it wasn't fun for me to have that interaction with my customers anymore. The buying, the selling, especially the pack opening. We had to put a minimum on credit card purchases because somebody would buy one pack, open it up, didn't get what they want, buy one pack, put it, and it's like, I didn't want. There's every other store pretty much out there does singles, at least stores in the that have been around for a little while. There's a lot of new stores opening up that are more like our store that doesn't do single, is more board game and entertainment based, from what I see.
Yeah, I honestly thought that would be kind of the lifeblood of a game store like that, would be the singles, because I mean, like you said, you buy low, sell at the market value, and typically
It is though.
You pretty much always have to pay 50% of the market in order to. You always want to try to double your money, or else you really, because the amount of time and investment you have to put into every single product is a lot.
The margin that you start off with buying Magic is not 50%. So
really, is it higher or lower?
It's worse.
Oh, okay.
So before we get too far away from like the founding part of your story, to keep your mind set in when you were way back in the Wayback Machine, you had mentioned something, and I didn't put it on as a question for us to look at, but something that I'm maybe a little more in tune with than Matt and Pat, and that's the board game. That's actually how I came to know your store. I've been going to your store for probably close to 10 years now, and when I walked in first, that's when you had, the shelf of games. I didn't see that. Is that still in your store, by the way?
The shelf of
open board games that you can just take off the shelf and sit down and play with other people.
Yeah, there's a whole library of games.
Is that in the third extension that you just added?
No, it's in the second. It's in the middle one.
Okay.
Yeah, in one of the extensions. We had it in the old system too. It was on the back wall.
Yeah. But I guess I want to say that from what I gather, because I'm new to the board game scene within the last decade, that I've heard many times on like Board Game Geek and some of the other places and gaming conventions, that we're in the golden age of board games. So like when you said you first started, you wanted to have a place to sit down and play, but I assume in that store you probably didn't have much playing area for anybody.
The second one in that picture, the top picture, that was the first store where we had gaming space. Through those spiderweb doors was our first gaming space, where I custom designed GW tables that were 4 foot by 6 foot, but I made them 4 by 4 so I could put 3 of them together like a big table, so that you could get a whole bunch of two games on one big table. And I had 3 of those kind of tables in that space, plus sit down tables for people to play Magic, because it was new.
So how much of a component of your store initially were board games, or when did you start seeing board games really explode with all the new gaming coming out?
Probably when Catan was first imported into the country as it came over in different packaging, and it had mimeographed, copied English translated rules that went along with it, so that you could, if you didn't read German.
And do you remember when that was roughly?
Around 2000, give or take, around the Y2K period.
Wow, so I was really late.
Because we were across the street. Yeah, but it started slowly. I mean, there were a few like games that you've known for a long time. Avalon Hill games, would get a little bit reprinted. You'd have the Risks, and you'd have other games that started to have been around for long. But really, the Euro Invasion games, because Talisman was still big back then. The GW game Talisman, that was a real popular game. Not a lot of strategy to it, just roll dice, move around board, hope you're the first one to slay the dragon. But there's Acquire, there was Diplomacy, but really it was Catan that started the Euro invasion of games, and it was really Magic Gathering's popularity and ease of allowing stores to make money that allowed people to expand into board games and try and build that market, because it would be really hard back then to try and do it with the few board games that were out. It'd be really tough.
Yeah,
So,
I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So with back when you first started, was there much competition around your area? And if there was, what set your hobby shop apart from others? And if there wasn't, it's kind of a loaded question, but yeah. So if there wasn't, nowadays, what set your shop apart?
Well, my opinion, my thoughts back throughout I thought everybody came to Cleveland to open a game store. That's what it felt like. Everybody was opening up a game store.
So there was a lot of competition back then.
There's a lot now.
And now, yeah, there is now as well.
But I look at it like this: our store, we've always tried to cater, at least early on, to the parents of the people coming in the store, the kids, the young people, because getting Magic wasn't in all the schools like it is now. It wasn't a common thing. Dungeons and Dragons had a bad reputation.
Yeah, demonic seances.
So the parents in 1992 weren't all that supportive of their younger, of their children, younger adults, really weren't doing. It just wasn't a positive thing. It was kind of like you did it in your basement. You were kind of the nerd, and it wasn't cool to be a nerd. So
yeah,
right,
like it is more now.
I'll say it's really cool now.
Yeah, I mean everybody's playing games now. So
You'll probably recognize these books then.
yes, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've been a big D&D nerd for many years, probably since I was I think 13, so something like, I don't know, 17 years or something like that. But
when I was in high school, so when we're talking 80s, well, early 80, like no, it's probably 79. Anyway, because it was 10th grade for me, so that was 79. We would drive into Cleveland to this little arcade shop to buy a module of D&D once a month when it would come out.
Okay.
It was so exciting to get the new dragon, Hill Dragon adventure, H1, and then a month later get H2, and so on.
I had the fortunate I was fortunate enough to have a neighbor that I was friends with who his father was a big D&D guy, and he got me into it. So they had like family night, and I wasn't allowed to play because it was just family night, and I was like a newer friend. But over the course of time, I became a closer friend with the family, and then I got to join. I got to play D&D, and we would play for I'm not even exaggerating. We would play for 12 to 13 hours, sometimes longer. Go to sleep, wake up, and play again. And the father would be the DM, and he had boxes of these modules, like you said. He collected. He was trying to get every single one of them. He still has them. Huge collection of older modules, older books. He loves first and second edition. So yeah, this is definitely. I mean, that's my.
Well, and on that note, James, that's got to be something that's difficult for you as a store owner, is like moderating your inventory, deciding what products to put on your shelves. I mean, with how rapid things are coming out nowadays, so many different brands. How do you decide that? Is it based on your interest, the public interest, the monetary interest?
That's always the good question, because if I only bought games I liked, I wouldn't sell very many. So, and I wouldn't sell enough. Let's put it that way, because I like heavy Euro games, and that's not really the common. I like all the games for the most part, except for party games. I really don't like playing like a Cards Against Humanity or.
Me too. I hate them.
Dude, yeah.
I don't hate them. They have their place. Like if you have 12 people sitting around a table.
Yeah, when I was playing
a real game,
drinking Bud Lights.
I call them activities more than a game, because
I agree with you. It's the icebreaker.
It's the icebreaker. Score, but who does it after a minute?
Well, I mean, and honestly, if you're going to play Cards Against Humanity, I'm just going to throw this out there that I think Joking Hazard is a superior Cards Against Humanity-like game. But it's one of those games where people only take 30 seconds for a turn. Matt actually ran a D&D campaign at my house, and we had 9 people. It was like over an hour between your turns.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Yeah, it was not. It was not very conducive. We didn't play it very long.
They each have their place, right?
Depending on what you're doing. That Cards Against Humanity was just really a ripoff of another game, Apples to Apples.
Yeah, I've played Apples to Apples, but that was the more like child version, right?
It was just not a Cards Against Humanity version.
Yeah, not obscene.
I mean,
Joking Hazard is 100%
Joking Hazard's worse. I've played Joking Hazard. It's way worse.
That's definitely not for the kids out there.
Yeah. No, it says some things that you would question how it even became a thing. But it's rated probably mature or whatever.
So I mean, I'd kind of like to stick to that question that Pat asked.
Mm-hmm.
Like over the years, though, how has and I guess I keep nibbling around the edges of this question at you. How has your inventory and gaming styles evolved all the way? And you don't have to go through granularly, but like you started off selling comic books. I don't see any comic books in your store anymore. You don't sell
service
singles
the customers that still order from us, and that's all behind the counter.
Okay.
You're still a distributor, but it's not part of the main store.
Well,
when you walk in, you are definitely greeted with board games. It's a very board game heavy presence the second you walk through the doors, which is great because it has a lot of box art candy for people to ooh and ah when they first walk in. But I mean, I'm trying to sum this up in a more consumable way. What trend have you noticed in the transition since you started till now for the products that you sell?
Well, I always wanted to do games. So as soon as I felt that there was enough games, and it really was. It was a culmination of diversity of games. So you had Magic, that gave me the ability to grow. Comic books were booming at the same time, so that was exploding as well. But I was able to get into Games Workshop, and that was significant because in 1993, 1994-ish, there was almost no one with Games Workshop of any quantity anywhere near. Maybe you could get some at the Guard Tower in Columbus, but there was no one. I mean, maybe the Soldiery had some, but they didn't have the full selection. So I had customers that were playing Magic that came in and said, Jim, if you get this, it'll come. They'll come. They'll get it. Get this in. So we know you'll do it right. It's like, all right. So back then, everything came as a blister. I don't know if you're familiar with the line, but now it's all plastic models, and most of them come in a box, except for maybe characters. But back then, everything came as a blister. So when I decided to carry 40K and Warhammer, it was like a $30,000 investment because you had to order 12 of every blister and 6 of every box minimum. So
wow.
And it took up the whole. Well, if you look at that one picture again, the top one, you couldn't even see all the Games Workshop on that top picture because, well, it would take up. It's actually behind us in the picture, but it took up the whole front wall, the whole side. It was a lot of space, and so to do that, I used the money that I, was able to get from doing Magic primarily and the comic boom, and I invested in Games Workshop. And then I had people driving from amazingly far distance because they would come to the store and I had everything that GW made. And pretty much since then, I still order everything GW makes every week so that I have as much as they'll send me of what I need. So people know when they come to the store, they're going to get the best selection. And that was important to me because when you were going in and you're looking for that one Dire Reaper that you need, or that, whatever model that you need, going to a store where they only have a few things, it was almost a waste of time because you're going to have to be lucky in order to get the item that you wanted. So it was really important to me to have the full selection.
So you'll probably appreciate this bad boy.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta try to.
Yeah.
So this I picked up. I didn't paint this. I actually do paint miniatures. I'm not like a pro painter by any means, but I do paint. I actually picked that one up on eBay for like $30. It was insane. It's very well done. But yeah, I picked this up. I own multiple armies of Warhammer, and I've played about 4 times. I actually like the game. The game felt drawn out, long, and it could have been the people I was playing with. Maybe we didn't know the rules as well, so we had to constantly refer to stuff. But yeah, the game's good. It's just it feels like it's definitely a time investment.
I'll tell you,
one way.
Every game is a time investment. You never get good at Magic the Gathering if you don't learn the meta.
Oh, we played for thousands of hours, so yeah, I get what you're saying.
And we only have so many hours each day. We all have the same amount of time per day, so you can't spend 1,000 hours on every game.
Yeah,
I have the same problem. At one point when we started doing board games, I had played all the games in the store. That ended about 7 years ago. It's just not possible.
Yeah, so, it makes sense as a store to be able to. Somebody asks, "Hey, how does this game play?" and you can actually tell them. And it kind of sucks that you don't have the ability to do that because there's so many new products from all kinds of different areas. So it's kind of hard to even.
Now we hire good people that fill a niche of a game community that we want to service, and then we make them the focal person for that game.
You definitely have a fairly sizable staff at your store. How many people are you currently, if you don't mind me asking, how many people do you have to run your store?
2, 4, 5, 6. We have 9. One part-time person. Everybody else is full-time, counting Susan and I, my wife. So that's 9 total. That's not very many.
No, that's actually
No,
I mean
that's
for
pretty large for just a
that's
shop. Most shops I know is like 2, 3, sometimes
or
4.
one.
And most of them are part time. Like I know that Kid Force Games. I know he has a lot of part time
Board starters,
helps.
card sorters.
I
Yeah,
don't
they're
think
card sorters, right? Yeah,
I don't think Warzone Games has an employee. If they do, they're probably buried somewhere in one of the stacks in there.
they've got so much stuff there. It's crazy.
The
Well,
dog, maybe the dog counts. But
there's different kinds of stores. It's one of the questions that you had asked me earlier as far as starting a store. It's easy to start the store with a card game. It takes very little square footage. You can get started with just a couple 6-foot or 8-foot tables and where you could sit like 16 people tops. You can start churning the single card, machine on and start to generate cash. The amount of boxes that you can fit, everything that you have can fit behind the counter or in your showcase. You can start off with very small square footage and start to build your business, start to build your community. But if that's what you want to do, I see personally a lot of people that are opening new stores are going at it. The ones that come in with capital and want to build their store are making stores more like mine, where they're diversified. I decided when I got rid of single cards that I didn't have a good diversity of stuff in the store, meaning that my store depended too much on, let's say, Magic. And if Magic had a bad year, which it's had bad sets and bad years, it impacted the business too much. So I diversified. We have different stuff. It's important for us that if GW has a bad year, it's not going to kill my business because we can lean into another game.
So I was curious, like how much have you been affected? Like we hear from just online, YouTube experts out there claiming about how so many stores are struggling, or how have you managed to get through those times that you just mentioned where if you were too heavily invested, have there been a lot of times since you've been in business, 33 years, you said?
Yeah, 33.
Where it's been scary that, oops, this product that we're heavily involved in is sucking at the moment, or like Star Wars Destiny straight up just decided to close up, or just about anything that
that's another story. They killed Star Wars Destiny by printing.
That's not the only thing they've killed. Like Fantasy Flight Games loves to start games and then just go, oh nope, it's over, it's done. It's like,
they flooded away
on Destiny. I think they mistakenly, when they came out with the 4th set, the second year, it made everything they made the previous year unusable in the game.
Yep.
Well, who wants to invest in a game like that where the company is going to basically say, hey, thanks for the money last year, but this year we got to start over again?
Do you see the same thing happening with Lorcana? Because I kind of am getting that vibe.
Well, Lorcana has more IP, way more characters and movies and shows and characters to draw on. So as long as you're playing the game for fun, which isn't really an American thing,
it is for me.
It's more of a meta thing. I'm just saying.
He's a bit advocate of fun. I'm definitely more competitive, and I like to win.
It's also you having fun, Matt. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
It's a different.
You have fun being competitive.
I'm going to quote Matt perfectly, because it just drives him nuts that I'll play even Magic and don't care if I win. Yeah. And he said, I was like, what's the point of playing games? He says, to win. And I said, no, playing games is to be fun. He says, winning is fun.
Well, I mean,
like when you read the instructions of the game, it isn't, the instructions don't tell you have fun. They tell you this is how you win the game.
This is how you win.
This isn't how you have fun. This is how you win the game.
And try to lose. I play to win, but for me, it's more of the social interaction of the people around the table than, I mean, you don't choose to play games with people you don't like.
Right.
So, I mean, the only time that happens is if you're at a tournament and you have to play somebody you don't like. So in the competitive field, but when you're playing for fun and casual, doesn't matter what game you're playing, you're meeting your buddy up at recess on a Tuesday afternoon to play 40K because you like him and you like the game. It's no difference for any game, whether it's Magic or board games or anything.
So kind of in that vein, because I there's many questions that still like have in the pipeline. We could have you here for a couple weeks and probably never ask all the questions. But for those card games like we just mentioned, which ones I didn't see that you were like overly present with Pokemon, which I see that being a very popular thing in a lot of stores to just stock up on Pokemon right now because it's the pure winner. You said you like to diversify, but which of those games are really popular right now? Because I know we got Star Wars Unlimited. Like I don't even know them all. There was that one where you scan the card and it's a digital trading thing.
Right,
What's that called?
Yeah.
What's that called, Matt?
Altered?
Altered, yeah.
Altered, yeah.
And then you got Lorcana, you got Magic. Like, I'm trying to recall even what I remember seeing on your shelves there. But which are the popular ones? Could you rank them kind of in order for us?
Well, I'll tell you what's most popular in our store, and because of how much energy you have to put into playing a game or getting people to play the game. I can't force people to come in and play in the store, but typically, if you offer the community for them to have more people to play against instead of just their one person or two people that they're always playing against, they'll come in and play. But right now, Magic, Pokemon are strong. So strong that, if you look at my shelf and probably a lot of shelves, it's really hard to see Final Fantasy. It's hard to see Tarkir, the last set, the Dragon set. It's hard to get Foundations. They say it's going to be in print for 5 years, but you can only get it every 3 months.
Yeah.
I think I haven't had Pokemon card packs on my shelf at normal price since December. So Surging Sparks, Journey Together, Destined Rivals, we take pre-orders. So if you want to get a box of that, you put your name on our list. You don't have to prepay or anything. And when it comes in, we email you. We have more pre-orders than we get allocated product, and we order hundreds, if not thousands, of boxes of these things. We just don't get what we order. Yeah. So we don't get enough for all of our pre-orders. So based on our pre-order system, we'll email you when it comes in, and we just don't have any left over for the shelf. So that's how we do it. And we sell it at the suggested price that you expect to get it when it's not crazily expensive.
Yeah, the MSRP, yeah.
Right. Now, if you think about a store that does singles, how much of their allocation do you have to pay premium for to get it up, to get it card by card in the showcase? I don't have that need, so I sell it all at regular price. So because I'm selling it, in my opinion, to the person that wants to play and have the cards, not the person that needs this card to win in this next tournament, or it's just the people that want the cards to play.
Right.
How you play is up to you. It doesn't matter to me.
Do you see a lot of desire for Pokemon play?
It's our favorite league of the week, I think, probably.
Oh, wow.
It has been. It's not our largest all the time, but it is young people and their parents mostly. And then, it's the youngest crowd of regular customers and constant new customers that I have in the store from a standpoint of a game. I mean, Magic is definitely older.
What's the aspect of concessions in your store look like? Is that a big help for you? The lollipops and sodas and whatnot?
Well, we try and only have mostly healthy stuff in the store, but we have sodas, we have some candy, and we have some chips. And there's some little cookies and stuff. But yeah, concessions are good. I mean, it's not a good margin, but it's okay. It's great. It makes it. People want to drink stuff. We have free water. We also have water that we sell. So,
Okay.
What about the ancillary products for card games, like the sleeves and the binders and?
I'm sure they'll do well.
Tons.
Yeah.
Board game people are buying card sleeves.
Yep.
War game people are playing card sleeves. I mean, card sleeves are just card sleeves and dice. I can't stock them fast enough. And paint. I mean,
Yeah, Warhammer paint. Yeah.
What
I can't believe
product?
Sherwin Williams doesn't make a little paint bottle, because I was in buying paint when we were remodeling the store, and the guy didn't have the brand, the style I wanted. So he goes, "Sorry, I have to. The only one we have in your color is this higher quality one here. Sorry, it has to pay so much." I'm like, "That's not that much. It's only $50 a gallon." He goes, "What do you mean it's not that much?" I'm like, "I sell paint for about $1,500 a gallon." So
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So what kind of dud products then have you had over the years? You're like, this should do great, and then you get it, and it's like, I can't give it away.
Oh, I have those all the time. But right
Obviously,
now,
I'm sure that happens all the time.
Yeah, that like Worms is not selling well. I have this game that it sold well the first time it came out 2 years ago, called Shazan. It's a diplomacy board strategy board game. It's really cool. Looks really nice. Just not popular. And I bought too many of them, so it's going to take a while to sell them.
Yeah.
How is Sorcery doing anything at your store?
Which game?
Sorcery. TCG.
It would if they'd make enough of it, but I can never restock. That's one thing that really hurts games, is not having enough of it. I mean,
I saw One Piece flying off your shelf.
Yeah, One Piece I can't keep in stock. I mean, the only thing I can get is like 2-3 sets ago.
So there's this ebb and flow of obviously supply and demand that these game makers have to work with, and I think that Sorcery is erring on the side of, we don't want to print too much because then the value of the singles goes to shit, which is what happens with a lot of these. With the TCGs that are massive, it doesn't really happen because the supply or the demand's so big that it kind of keeps it in check. But something like Sorcery, it's difficult because it's not super adopted yet by a lot of people. I think it's an okay game explained terribly. Pat and I tried to play, and the experience of trying to understand the rules as a veteran of TCGs was so difficult. They have like
I literally was cussing so loud trying to learn the game. It woke Bob up from a nap.
Let's fill him in. So Pat lives on the east coast, right?
Yeah.
Matt and I live about 20 minutes apart. We're both about 30 minutes from your store.
Yeah, we're both local to you.
Pat,
Pat's not.
Unfortunately, he lives in Vermont.
I love living in Vermont. It's inconvenient for having close friends in Ohio. Like
Pat made a visit out here to us, and as part of that, they were here at my house, and Matt said he really wanted to give Sorcery a shot.
Yeah, people
thought I had no desire, so I was trying to take. I'm like, I'll take a nap on the couch. You guys go learn to play. All I kept hearing. And Pat is one of the most chill dudes you're going to run into. And I just hear him getting more and more upset.
He's the most angry that I've ever seen him, actually.
His face was red by the time I got up off the couch and how angry he was at trying to learn how to play Sorcery. So,
unlike Magic, the cards, if you read them, it doesn't explain the card. It's one of the subtle difficulties of the game.
The text that I remember the most was called Slumbering Giantist. Slumbering Giantist. And on the card it says Genesis falls asleep. Falls asleep. You would think that would be a mechanic. So I'm like looking through the rule book, falls asleep. What the fuck is falls asleep? And like we're sitting there like scouring the internet, scouring the rule book, scouring like everything. Nothing. And then I find out later on that I had to go to the forums or go to the Discord of the game, and people were like, that's just flavor text. I'm like, that's just flavor text. Because it would be different if it was in the flavor text portion of a card, which is typically at the bottom. Yep. Genesis is a keyword. Genesis is when it enters the battlefield. So you would think that when you say a keyword or dash something, you would think that Genesis falls asleep would be what happens. But no, that's just flavor text.
All I'm saying is that
it's crazy.
It was hilarious.
There are times of playing the game that I'm like, I could see this game being fun. But then there are times like trying to learn the game felt horrible.
I think collectible card games have a really huge hurdle to become popular enough to sustain themselves. Look at the games that have come and gone that have had tons of money behind them that didn't make it.
I got a bunch here.
Pardon?
Well, and that's
I have
that's
one
gotta
here.
be that Lorcana.
I don't know
mean,
if you remember Middle Earth collectible card games came out with the Lord of the Rings in 1995. I still have 2 of the original beta boxes up on my shelf, and a whole bunch of others. I have World of Warcraft. Remember, they came out with a TCG. I have a bunch of Star Wars Destiny. I think I can go on.
World
I
of
have some
Warcraft was
Jedi ones.
along for a long time, though. It had quite a good run.
What's that?
World of Warcraft.
Well, but it's still out of print.
Yeah.
It's dead. Which of the games do you foresee that are on your shelf right now of the TCGs? Can you give us a prediction of which ones you think? And I don't want to hurt your business by saying I don't think that one's going to make it.
Right.
Do you see any obvious ones that you're like, that's got a hill to climb?
Well, Altered. I don't think that's going to make it.
It's definitely a weird one. The gameplay looks horrible.
Well, they also way under delivered what they promised as on how the game was.
I haven't looked into it. I saw the Kickstarter. I thought it was interesting with the code, but then everything else was kind of meh. So I kind of left it apart. Yeah.
And
I also have Cryptic.
And I played the game. It's just like I don't know. I can't get excited about getting to the center before.
Yeah, it felt. That's what I said. The gameplay looked horrible. It looked It looked like a children's game. It looked like hopscotch. Like I don't know. Like it looked.
Yeah, it was pretty,
bad.
but yeah, I couldn't see playing it competitively. I mean, and I think that in order for that game to be good, and I was very, I said I was kind of like that because I got to see a preview before the Kickstarter and everything at Gen Con the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a loge in the stadium there at Gen Con, and we're getting this pitch. It's just like 4 of us and the whole team. And I was a little bit skeptical. Who's going to want to buy these single cards? I mean, why would they want them? They're going to really need them because there was so much uniqueness in the game that everything was unique.
Yeah.
So it wasn't unique. Does that make sense?
If everything's special, nothing's special.
I thought that was my impression. Well, anyway, I was definitely not the general consensus. So I don't like raining on other people's parade. Somebody asked me if they want to open a game store. I say, yeah, you should do it if you have the passion. It's not going to be easy, but do it. Find know where your market is. If you're going to open up across the street from me, I'm going to tell you it's going to be really hard for you. But
right.
I mean,
So speaking of things being harder, difficult, or actually, did you have any other games that you wanted to mention, or was that just the main one?
One Piece is our 3rd best game. As far as games that I don't think are going to make it, I don't think Star Wars Unlimited is going to make it. But
I thought it was pretty fun.
What about
but
Flesh and Blood?
I haven't played it since, so I guess.
I'm not saying that the game isn't fun. I think Destiny is fun.
I agree. Yeah, Star Wars.
But as far as an
fun.
ongoing game of people coming in, we're already took it off Friday nights because the attendance is so low that it's
okay. So the demand.
They'll come in for the pre-release, and we'll have a great turnout, and then they'll come the next week for for another pre-release, typically because we have extra pre-release packs or a sealed event, and then we quickly go to Constructed, but that only lasts for like a week or so, and then they're just like, okay, well we know what the meta is on this bunch now. We got to wait for the next set coming out.
That actually leads in pretty good to the next question. What is one thing that players or collectors do, maybe even with good intentions, that actually hurt your business or community more than they realize?
Well,
I assume this doesn't apply to board games, right? Like
this is mainly a TCG focus.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, this definitely happens in board games too.
Okay.
But well,
I could actually probably even just answer this question because you kind of just did, where you mentioned where they come with the pre-releases, but then they don't come for future events. That would probably
that's
be
prerogative. I don't.
Sure. I guess that's not really their good intentions necessarily.
I mean, you guys are all trying to find your own fun in playing your games. You like the competitive nature of a game. You want to play to win. That's how you get enjoyment out of your game. Some people, have different enjoyment.
What up, Coach?
Oh.
We're just welcoming one of the audience members, one of our.
Yep. So I think everybody's trying to find their fun. I'm trying to help people find their fun.
Gotcha.
And that's what the whole staff is trying to do. Everybody has. Some people are competitive. We'll even recommend that you go to other stores if you're looking for a higher competitiveness, because almost all of our events, the payout is very flat.
Yeah.
So you come to a pre-release, and you're getting packs based on wins, but you get a pack, so it's not a big difference between going 0-3 and going 3-0.
It sounds very similar. It sounds very similar to Mr. Cards of Comics, where you pay a flat fee to enter, and then you get one pack per win.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Yeah, and it's fun. It's very casual. I'm very competitive, so I typically win. It's one of those things where you probably should go to a more competitive store.
Well, I want people to come in and play, and I don't want them to be demoralized. I remember when we used to be across the street from our current location, back in the 90s and early 2000s, we had Tuesday Night Magic. This was before Friday Night Magic was a thing. And it was $5. They'd come in. It was always the same half a dozen people that would win. So eventually the people just stopped coming that don't win because they're not getting the prizes because, it wasn't flat then. It was competitive then because it was new and it was just the way that the game was evolving. So I just saw that loss of interest because they weren't really getting anything out of it except paying for the same few people every week to take their money and prizes. So
I would like to bring up Coach's question. I'm sorry, we're going to have to hurry some of these along. We only have about 10 minutes left here on the show. But Coach asked a great question here. Do you have an online storefront reset games? I know that you do, and Pat linked it here. But could you talk about that just a little bit?
I posted it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll tell you how it happened. I tried before the pandemic to 2018. I did Amazon. And after I looked at the numbers after a year of Amazon, I said, well, Amazon and UPS made more money than we did. So that's
yeah, I heard that their margins are pretty high.
So we're not doing that anymore. So I invested in an e-com website, and we were just taking our time putting stuff in it. And then the pandemic hit. So instead of laying my staff off, they would come in 2 days a week in the morning so that we get the UPS shipments, and we just all were entering not code, but items into our inventory so that we got all of our stuff online. So by the time we opened, when the pandemic ban was lifted and we could reopen our store, we had everything in the computer. And in the meantime, people would order online what was available, the new stuff especially, and then we would collect it for a week of orders. And then on Saturday, I would pass it out to cars. They would just drive up, text us or call us when they were there. We walk out, hand them their stuff, and they would drive on their way. So that worked out really well, and it really helped us. We were just in the right place, had the right stuff at the right time in order to take advantage of it. And now our e-com business is solid. It's growing slowly. But I'll tell you, for everybody that's not local to us, the one thing that you learn is if the game is really hot or hard to get, it usually costs more on our website than it does in our store.
Fair enough.
All right. So I have some tough questions for you, James.
All right.
That we have on that sheet there. So I'm going to dig into it because we're getting to the juicy stuff here in the question lineup. And if you don't want to answer it, feel free to say I don't want to answer that or go F myself. Either way. So a couple of things, and it's not really summed up very well here. But one of the things is, do you pay attention to the secondary market for your pricing?
For initial, like for all these card games and stuff where it is not, well, I'll just say flat out, yes, I'm aware of when the things are more expensive, but I don't use it to set my prices. The only difference is if, let's say, for instance, a Pokemon set comes out and it is $400 about, let's do something more recent, Final Fantasy. If I had any stuff that was going to go on the shelf, meaning I satisfied all of my pre-orders, and all of my pre-orders that are pretty much at normal price based on what I have to pay for the product to get it. If it goes on the shelf and I see that online a box of cards is $1,000 and I'm selling it for $200, I'm going to raise the price. Not because I'm trying to gouge the customer, but because I know the person that's going to buy them all is just going to flip them. So I either have to limit them, which I do, or I have to raise the price. I try to find a medium in there. It hasn't happened on Final Fantasy yet because I haven't had enough of the product. So we're still going down our list of special orders, and you could add a special order right now and you'd end up on the list. So we don't stop taking the orders. I just can't tell you when I'm going to get more of it.
Perfect answer. That's a tough question, I know, to answer, and a lot of stores, I think every store will answer that one in their own unique way. But in conjunction with that, one of the other questions we wanted to get to was, what do a lot of people demonize LGSs? They will, behind the scenes, especially on YouTube. Oh, those evil LGS owners trying to make a buck, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're a store. But what are some of the misunderstandings you think that the public has about pricing for the stores? I think they think you guys are making, millions of dollars on it, selling it at MSRP. But, I don't want to answer the question for you. What do you think some of the misconceptions that you feel people have about pricing of products?
Well, I'll start with you guys all at the beginning of this thought that our margin on Magic was not as bad as it is, that it's worse than 50%. So in the history of, let's say, Magic, they have done it many times, but they raise our cost, but they don't change the suggested retail price. So if you remember, for about a year, Magic did away with the suggested retail price, and they just brought it back. Well, at the same time they're bringing it back, they shaved another percentage off of the cost on that for us. So, I mean, not shaved it off of us. They basically made us pay more. So they're shrinking our margin, and I think they're using the Lego reasoning here. Lego has an absolutely horrible margin. I mean, we're talking like 20, 25% if you're lucky on their bad stuff. Okay, if you're buying Legos, but they guarantee, well, they don't guarantee. They say, well, it's so popular, it's all going to sell, so your turnover is going to be so fast that you can afford to make less per item because you're going to sell a lot more items. And that's where you asked me earlier about the tariffs, I think, a little bit on how it was affecting the market, but I don't think I ever answered. I think we're just seeing a margin shave. I'm really fortunate. My goal is always to get Keystone. What they call Keystone is 50% margin. That's a rarity in our industry. This isn't clothing or jewelry or household goods where the margin starts at 400 or 500%. And then the reason that they have sale after sale after sale, markdown is because they're trying to get an average of Keystone by the time they've sold for the first people that come in and have to have it right now when it's new and they pay the most, then the people that get it when it's first on sale, and then more on sale, and then when it's in, then you have the people that only shop clearance, they get on clearance, and then when they finally take all of their sales for that item and they look and they say, look, this was our goal, and that's what they're trying to do. We don't have that luxury. Our games are hit or miss, meaning that Karlov's Manor comes out. It's a dog. I mean, how many years? I had to hold Fallen Empires for 15 years before I got it. And I had 5,000 boxes.
If you still have any, I'll buy one.
Well, they're all gone now.
Aww.
But how many items can you afford to warehouse at that amount of money until it's good? Magic is gonna go up in price as long as the game is there forever. It might not go up quickly, but 10 years from now, that Karlov's Manor is going to sell for more than what.
Yeah, the history has shown that's why do you think I have?
Let's say sealed product will do that. Sealed product will do that. Individual cards can be all over the map.
Right. That's why I still have unlimited starters and boosters and stuff, because a starter back in the unlimited days, there's only 2 rares in it, and I didn't want to get a life lace.
Nope.
And James, we've got a question from one of our channel subscribers here. Okay. If you're able to divulge it, how many Final Fantasy gift bundles did you get? I know it was a very highly allocated product. What was your
really low? Here, I'll tell you. Give me 1 second.
And understand, folks, you're only seeing a corner of the store. It's a pretty large store. And
he's one of the few premier WATC with the WPNs.
When I looked on the map, you were the only premier WPN.
No, there's another one. I saw one yesterday.
There's one in Akron. It's
Okay, I meant up this way, not down towards.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's near him.
Akron's not real near North Homestead.
Oh, no, it's within 10 miles of him. It's another shop. I'll look it up. Hold on.
Okay, I was about to say Akron's like
the shop before. That's why I'm
away.
confused.
The only ones that I know of in Ohio are the Grip. What's it called? In the one in Akron, downtown Akron.
I don't know. I've never been there.
A Full Grip. And our store, and there's another one in Columbus. There used to be one in Toledo, but that Frog, it was a Frog name, and they went out of business.
Toad and Troll?
Toad and Troll?
Toad and Troll was the website.
Toad and Troll, I think, is what it was.
Oh, I don't even know that one in Ohio.
That's
the one that was in Toledo?
I think that's the Frog one you're talking about. I bought stuff from them on eBay, and he sent it to me. Oh, get out of here, Coach. Browns, baby.
20.
Browns.
We got 20.
Oh, 20 boxes. Okay. Oh, I see what happened. It lists your store twice. So when I look up on the store locator,
within 10 minutes of
it says the featured store Recess Games, and then underneath that Recess Games. But there's two WPN premiums. Yeah, you're the only one within 50 miles of your shop.
So, we're down to the last couple of minutes here. I don't want to go into the lightning round, but I did want to bring up one of the main questions when I was at the pre-release for Final Fantasy, first pre-release I've been to in probably 20 to 25 years. And James and I got to talking about just there's no satisfying, because I put a large pre-order in with him, and I'm grateful that I got at least one collector box and the Commander collector deck set. But that you can't satisfy everybody. And I know that it's an evolving thing for you, that you want to try to come up with ways to satisfy every part of your audience, not just one or two, let's call them whales. People would call me a whale. I'm definitely not. But you don't want to just sell an entire case or 4 cases that you would get to one single person, even though it gets you all your money. You had stated a desire to try to distribute it as fairly as possible, if that's a good word to use.
I don't think fair is a good word to use, only because it really just depends on what your motivation or goals are. If your goal is profit, and business and growing and stuff, if your goal, then, you might want to sell them to the whales because it's easier and it takes less money and there's less costs in making one large transaction than there is in making 50 little transactions. But I'm trying to build a community or keep the community building and growing. I'm trying to allow people to enjoy the game at the price that that it was intended for them to enjoy it at. And that's hard sometimes. And yes, you can't make everybody happy, but I'm trying to be as realistic for the products that we get and share it with as many people as we can in a way that people that want the product get it. And not just the people, because we do have customers that order 3 cases of One Piece, every time it comes out or whatever. They want 36 boxes because they have a YouTube show and they're going to crack it and they're going to do this and they're going to sell it. And I'd love to get them 36 boxes. If Bandai would give me everything I ordered, I would be able to give them their 3 cases and give everybody else what they ordered, and it wouldn't be an issue. But because it is, we just give that person one where they are on the list and go to the next person. And if we get back to that person, they get another one.
And I'm going to say, I'll echo this, because when Lorcana came out, the first chapter, I did order, I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 cases through your store. And I know you don't know, but take a guess at how much of that order I got.
1 box?
1 box. I got 1 box.
You didn't get very much.
At least you got one. So this final question, I think, to close it off within the last minute. This is something that I promised I would ask, so I have to ask it. So if somebody seriously wanted to open an LGS today, what kind of startup costs do you think that they're looking at? All included, say they need to store the product, everything. Based on your experience, I think you mentioned before, you would recommend it, but not near you. But so basically, what's the bare minimum do you think it would take for somebody to have a real shot at surviving opening up a shop? And this could be TCG focused, but it also could be whatever it takes to survive.
All right. Well, if you open up a small shop as a trading card game store with singles. You can do it really inexpensively. You can, if you can build your community and have games and events and sell your singles, and and use the money that you take in to grow your business, then you can do it on a shoestring. The problem is it's harder now because you have stores like mine that are out there. So, it's just harder to do now without money. I didn't have the huge amount of, if you wanted to open a store like mine with minimal inventory to get started, let's say just a 5,000 square foot, half the size of my store, 3,000 to 5,000 square foot, and you bought real fixtures, which you probably wouldn't. You'd probably buy the grid and stuff because it's cost effective. That's what I did in the early days. Now all my cabinets I have custom made because I don't want the temporary Halloween store look. So each one of my cabinets, costs $800. Most people aren't going to do that when they start. So if you're starting this as hey, I'd like to get this going, I'm not happy with my job, I'm going to do it part-time, keep my regular job, you could probably do it. I had a motto when I started, and I still repeat it all the time. And it's basically, I said, I give no mental recognition to the possibility of failure. So I don't look for ways to call it quits. I look for ways to get around my obstacles. And, I started with a few $1,000s, and I didn't have all good years. I had years where I ended up with a part-time job, but I didn't quit because I knew this was what I wanted to do. I just hadn't figured out how to do it yet. So, and I was dumb. Younger and dumber, and now I rely on smart people. I hire well, and, it's just, it's a learning process. So it really just depends on how big your ego is, on how well you're going to do, or how much money you have in the bank on how well you can get started. But if you wanted to start a store like mine in 5,000 square feet, it's probably going to cost you around $100,000.
Well, like a smaller shop, like an entry level. Kind of think of your first store back in the day.
I started with $800.
That was 1992. So nowadays,
you can find used fixtures everywhere. Those are easy and cheap to buy. So, and you can find nice ones. You don't have to buy crappy ones. So you're thinking
5,000 to 10,000 would be enough, even?
Not with merchandise.
No, yeah, that's the thing. That the merchandise cost would also be pretty heavy as well.
Yeah, and if you had an 800-foot square store, you couldn't have a lot of gaming. So you're going to need to go around 1,000 to 1,500, to 1,200 square feet to get a few tables in there. If you're doing mostly card games, and if you do board games and you had Games Workshop, you need a much bigger store. So you're either going to be in the worst part of town, or in order to get that cheap 3,000 square foot store, so you can have the tables that you want to build. Or you're going to be like a Warhammer store that's 1,000 square feet and there's no tables in there except the demo tables where they show you how to play the game. Yeah. So it really just depends on how you want to build your store. But if you see a store like mine and you want to, I want to do that, well, it's going to cost you, over $100,000 to do it.
That's what I thought. That was my guess, about 100,000.
We do have another guest in the wings for the after show. So we're so good at this YouTube thing that we always remember at the very end of the show to remind you, hey, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe and consider becoming a member at 99 cents a month. But also, please, everybody, let's give a round of thanks to James for showing up tonight, braving the question.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I would like to plug.
I hope you had fun. Hope you enjoyed it.
I'd like to plug your store a little bit if we could get his address up on here, and we've already posted the online for those of you that are not local. And if you're in the Cleveland area, please consider heading out towards North Olmsted. You can go in there and literally just take games off the shelf and sit down and play it with people. That was how I got introduced to his store. It's a big, very nice looking, very professional store, friendly staff, lots of product. In Northeast Ohio here. Do you have the love you, Sherry Vegas? Do you have the actual street address that we could post there real quick? That'd be great.
I posted the website. They can find it at the bottom. Just scroll to the bottom. Okay. I don't know if we need to post there.
Anyways, thank you everybody in the audience for your time tonight, and thank you, James, so much for being gracious enough to join us tonight and really give us a great insight to the LGS experience.
Yeah, we only got about half the questions, but very informative and great answers, and enjoyed your company.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too. If you guys want to do this again, I'm open.
Cool.
Awesome. We'd love to have you again. We'll do a follow-up some point in the future here. Because like I said, we didn't even get to half the questions.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him about Magic 30 and see how you felt about that. There's so many. All kinds of stuff.
I actually, inside just with me and James, I wanted to ask him more about Upper Deck board games, but we'll leave that for another session. Make sure that you post the member only link there, Pat, before we switch over.
Yeah.
We got Nate waiting in the wings to crack a box. That's right, of Final Fantasy to build his Commander Raids box break deck tonight. So for the members, we'll see you in just a few minutes, and we'll invite you, James. You're welcome to stay for the member only show. You won't have to pay.
Oh, you were 2 seconds faster than me.
So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you again next Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Thanks for having me.
Where Bob mandates
Nobody's
everybody dances. As
Nobody's dancing. Not
he's
one
real
of us.
big on it.